To start, make sure the fabric is on fold, so fold the fabric in two. The width of the fabric should be 1/4 of the hip measurement plus about 3 inches. Draw a line at the top for the waistline. Okay, up the top there is, I use that now as the stitching allowance. So I mark off the hip measurement from waist to hip. I mark that line off. Then from waist to crotch area, I mark that line off. So I get the length of the shorts. What length do we want the shorts to be? You mark off the length and add on about 2 inches for the hemming. In my case, I added more than 2 inches because I want a cuff at the bottom. So now I'm going to mark off the hip circumference. So it's a hip divided by 4. And I mark it off there. Okay, so hip divided by 4, and you can add a 1/2 inch for ease. So draw that line all the way up to the waist. So go back to the crotch now. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to extend that crotch line by about 2 inches. This is for a child, so I'm extending it by 2 inches. Then I'm going to come in that little part there now by about 1 inch. I'm going to make my curve, my crotch curve there. So I'm going to curve it from the hip straight down to the crotch line, and that's the crotch curve. So I'm measuring now from the side seam to the crotch, and I'm going to find the midpoint. So I get the midpoint and I draw a line down, straight down to touch on the hemline. I'm going to use this line when I'm going to mark off the knee circumference. So if your knee circumference is, say, 10, you're going to divide by 2, which is 5. So you're going to share the 5 now across that line. So 2.5 on one side and 2.5 on the other side. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just sharing my knee circumference across this line. At the bottom, you don't cut straight when you're cutting at the hem. You just kind of slant it a little bit. So when you're hemming it now, it can be flat. So now I'm going to connect from the hemline straight up to the hip line. I'm going to connect here up to the crotch line. Just curving this a little bit under the crotch area. So you've got that little curve at the end. At the slant, that curve a slant, because you don't want it to give any trouble while you're hemming. So you're going to just slant it at the bottom. So remember now to add your stitching allowance all the way around. Okay, I'm going to add mine off camera, so make sure you add yours when you're doing it. You can use 1/2 inch stitching allowance. So I'm going to cut this out now. So I'm finished now with the front panel. I'm gonna mark out the back now. So I place the front panel on fresh fabric and I drew out those lines, the main lines there, the crotch line, the hip line, the waistline, and the hemline on the bottom. Drew them out, trace the top panel on the back panel, trace out everything here, leave some fabric up the top part because you have to extend the top, because the back panel is bigger, is higher than the front panel, and there's got to be some fabric where we're gonna extend the crotch line again. So we have extended the crotch line for the front and we're going to extend the crotch line for the back as well. We're going to extend it from the actual measurement, not from the stitching allowance, and that is why it's necessary to trace it out. So I'm extending the crotch line by about 2 inches again. So the crotch line on the back panel, I'm extending it. So after I've extended the crotch line on the back panel, I now connect from the hemline up to that new crotch line there. You can then add your stitching allowance onto the back panel. Now I made a mistake on this back panel here, which I have to correct now. Now notice the extension at the back. I put it on the wrong side. The extension should be on the crotch side. That 2-inch extension like that should be on the crotch side. And I made a mistake and put it on the other side. So I've corrected it here. This is the extension here, 2 inches extension, because the back panel must be higher at the back than the front panel. Then you're going to connect that now back to the waistline, and that's how it should be. And you connect it like so. Then we connect now that new waistline at the back there, back down to the crotch, the crotch curve or the crotch line. So we connect the new waistline now to the crotch line, mark it out, and then we can cut it. So I've gone ahead and stitch it. Remember now the back panel extension is 2 inches, and we raise the waist at the back by 2 inches because it has to be higher than the front panel. I'm going ahead and I've stitched the front panel as well. Stitch the 2 legs together. This is the pocket. This is how the pocket should look. It's an outside pocket. I've gone down by 5 inches and 2 inches at the top, and I've cut off a piece there, slant off there. Now we're gonna stitch on the sides and the bottom. So we're gonna fold it under by 1/2 inch. At the bottom, fold it under on the side, and then stitch it onto the fabric, onto the front panel. Now I am attaching this strip here onto the slanted side of the pocket. This is optional, you don't have to do this. And fold under about 1/4 inch, and we stitch it on top. So cut off the excess. We don't need the bottom bit, the piece at the top, so you can cut that off. Do the same for the other side. So I'll stitch it down now, and this is how it looks. That's the pocket there, it's on the outside. So I'm matching the crotch line to each other before I stitch. So I'm going to stitch that. I'm going to close that off. This is the back. I'm going to stitch along there. Put the two panels together and stitch. This is it here. The front, placing them right side to right side, and then stitch the sides down. Put the two crotch seam together and we stitch to close off the crotch area. Okay, so now that that is done, I'm going to now measure the waist. I want the waist measurement now in order for me to cut the band. Okay, so I've cut the band. Oh, you're gonna cut the band 2 times the width of the elastic and add an extra piece for the stitching allowance. So you get the band measurement, then you close it off, close off the 2 ends. Then I attach it now to the waist of the shorts. I attach the right side, left side. So right side matching the left side of the shorts. Right side of band, left side off, because I want to stitch on the outside, and that's why I do it this way. You stitch it right around. Okay, I've done the stitching now. That's what it looks like. Okay, so I've turned it over now, and I'm going to now stitch now the top part of the band onto the shorts, or the waist part of the shorts. So I'm turning it under by 1/2 inch, and I am attaching it to the waist. I'm pinning it, keep it in place before I stitch it, and I do this all the way around, leaving out 1 inch to pass the elastic through. There we go. It's now stitched. The gap is left out for the elastic. So now I'm going to put the elastic through that gap, take it through the tunnel, and close off the ends of the elastic when I'm done. Feed it through the tunnel. Make sure the elastic is not twisted in the tunnel. So you can close it off this way by running zigzag stitch at the end. After you've done that, you're going to close off the gap. You'll stitch up the gap. I've gone ahead and I've stitched the hem up. I've stitched it up and I've now turned it up now because I want the cuff. So this is what I have done. It's a really deep hem because I wanted it to cuff at the bottom. So I turned it up, I stitched it around, and then I'm turning it up now. I'm going to be pressing it to keep down, and then I'm going to stitch pressing that to keep it flat. And I'll be stitching right there, stitching right there, keep it in place. So it's done. So pressed it, looking okay. I'm going to run another stitch straight across the band. Now while I'm running that stitch, I'm going to be stretching the waist while I'm stitching it. This is the effect. So I'm holding the crotch there just to show you that the back part of the back part must be higher on the back panel. Because if it's not higher, the butt won't hold in. So it's higher because you want the butt to just fit in comfortable. Thanks for watching. See you in my next one.